Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Three Buck Theater, and look, I've been a fan of Netflix now since 2007, and oh no, before then, like 2005, right? But I've had Netflix Instant since 2007, and it's not something I ever really plan on getting rid of. It brings me lots of joy, except when I watch something like, let's say, Don't F with Cats at midnight, thinking, I'm just going to do an episode and not binge watch the entire thing, sitting there in my bedroom alone, surrounded by my own cats, mortified for 3 hours. Of course not. No, of course not. That's just something you do on occasion. Anyway, Netflix, I feel, is in a very precarious situation, and I do want to do a full video about why they should get rid of binging culture, but right now I'm concerned because I feel they're doing what Facebook did, and this could potentially bite them square in the ass. And this is what came out today. Netflix changes how views are counted. Says The Witcher was the most watched debut season ever. Now listen, I'm not going to sit there and discount The Witcher. That show was lit. I loved it. All 8 episodes. Give me more. Come on, just bask me with more Geralt of Rivia. I'm happy with that, right? But Netflix is in a situation where they need a win. They really need a win because now they've got a lot of other competition, so much so that it's slowing down their US growth. And once Disney Plus opens up in other territories at the end of March, it's going to slow down the growth in other territories as well. So they need to find a way to make sure that they show their investors that things are doing well. So how do they do that? Well, now they're going back and they're changing how the views are counted. Very similarly to kind of how Facebook did the same thing, which ended up really biting them in the ass and hurt so many people in the process. But anyway, this is what they say. Netflix gave special thanks to Witcher in his Q4 letter to shareholders on Tuesday, saying the Henry Cavill-led fantasy show was watched by 76 million households in the first month, making it the biggest first-season debut in the service's history. But this record-setting performance might have something to do with how Netflix changed its views. Now, this is where it gets interesting when you look at how Netflix breaks down the views or how they used to, right? And I'll just kind of give you something for comparison here as we dive in. YouTube counts a view at 30 seconds. If you watch 30 seconds of the video, they will then count that as a view. Facebook was counting 3 seconds, and I still think they're counting it at around 3 seconds. Those view counts are relatively inflated, and they don't actually have a lot of kind of return on investment from the audience perspective, but they just look really good to investors and people who want to come and buy ad services through Facebook. YouTube, it does do a bit better on that regard, but this is how they did it. Now, it says here that previously Netflix would count a view after 70% of the show or movie was watched. On Tuesday, Netflix said it now measured a view when a subscriber chose to watch and did watch for at least 2 minutes, long enough to indicate that the choice was intentional. So think about that, right? So think about that. When they watch a show, and they watch 70% of a show. So let's say it's an hour-long show, or well, normally about, let's say about an hour, and they watch 70% of that, which is, I don't know, 40 minutes, right? 45 minutes, I think. About 42 minutes, I think. And so they watch that amount of time. That's an intentional investment of time. Yes, that would count as a view. It would make a lot of sense. But when they watch just the first 2 minutes and that the choice is intentional, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's an investment. Now, and I'll give you Witcher actually as a prime example for me. So I just watched it last week. I got to sit down and finally check it out. But 2 weeks prior, while I was feeding my daughter, I was like, you know what? I got time. I can feed her. I can put her down in her crib or her little bassinet thingy, and then I can watch The Witcher. So I put it on and I watched about the first 5 minutes before she threw a conniption fit, and I couldn't hear any of the dialogue, and I had to turn it off. Should that count as a view? Should that actually count as a view for Netflix? Yeah, it was an intentional viewing past 2 minutes, but I couldn't invest the time into finishing to watch the whole episode or to get at least 70% into the episode. I wouldn't necessarily count that as a view because I only saw a small portion of the video. And I mean, it's kind of a moot issue. I'll fully agree, but it just feels like one of those things where you're like, Netflix is trying to pad, they're trying to pad it now at this point. Now, it says here, Netflix says it made more sense to change how it counts views, considering the widely varying lengths of its shows and movies. If Netflix was using its old 70% metrics, viewers would need to watch at least 42 minutes of the show's first episode to count as a view. And I think that's fine. I think by that point in time, you've invested yourself into it. The likelihood of you going on to other episodes is relatively high. So then my question becomes, does it account for every single episode, right? Is it just, do they count a view for the one episode, or do they count it per view on all 8 episodes? If you only go and watch 2 minutes of each episode, that's a 16-minute investment, maybe about 17 or 18 with load times, but that's really about it. And then that counts as 8 views for the show. I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily believe that this is a valid metric. And this kind of feels like more of a Facebook sort of thing, where it's like, oh, 3 seconds counts as a view, because it takes them that amount of time to kind of, hit pause and then to move away from it, or to hit mute and to do whatever. But this is like 2 minutes is not a big deal. Now, again, this is what they say. They say here that a testament to how our hit content can penetrate the global zeitgeist and influence popular culture, the show's launch drove up sales of The Witcher books and games around the world and spawned a viral musical hit, Netflix said in its Q4 letter. So the popularity of the show did help spur the popularity of the games and the popularity of the book, and then Toss a Coin to Your Witcher did become a viral hit, but ultimately none of those things adds to Netflix's bottom line, because they don't make any money off of the book sales. They don't make any money off of the game sales, and they don't make any. Well, they might make money off of the how much money was made from Toss a Coin to Your Witcher, because the song was produced for the show. So that could be the only thing that they might find another source of revenue on. But other than that, it's kind of just a moot argument, right? Oh, it was so popular, did all these things, but does that mean it brought in new subscribers? And as I've said before, when it comes to binging, and how I view that binging ultimately like kind of hurts properties these days, because people don't have the time to go through it all. They just rush through it and they don't really get the chance to absorb and talk about it, build a community. The Witcher's the same way. People watched it. Absolutely. Was it popular? Absolutely. Was it more popular than Mandalorian? Sure, because Mandalorian is only available in a few countries, whereas there's over 100 million people who have access to The Witcher. And as we saw, 72 million of them, at least 72 million households, were watching it during the last quarter, right? So there's a difference there. We have to look at it kind of differently. But again, it's kind of a weird place to be. So down here, again, this is what I'm talking about. It says Netflix added 8.8 million customers during Q4, matching its second best quarter ever in terms of total subscriber additions. The service now has 167 million subscribers overall. Now, this article is kind of playing it up as a positive, but this is actually lower than other quarter increases. In fact, 2019 did see a lot of quarter decreases in regards to subscriber growth. And I'm wondering now if, because, they're talking about spending $17 billion on content in 2020 on Netflix, is this a way in order to boost up the view count, in order to kind of artificially inflate the popularity of certain shows, or the overall popularity of the service in the face of all the competition to their investors and to their shareholders? And look, I love Netflix. Like I'm not talking ill about the company, but it's like, my take for the company would be like, focus on more original content, stop buying all the dumb, stupid crap, no more reality TV, actually curate content instead of having it just be a dump zone. And if this is the case for how they are now going to be handling the views, is that going to do anything for how many shows just get canceled right off the damn bat these days, right? Like Daybreak got through 1 season. It was canceled after being on a cliffhanger. We know about Daredevil season 3 being canceled. We know about a bunch of other shows being canceled. Mindhunter season 3 is on indefinite hold, but that has more to do with David Fincher than subscribers or views. But if they're now going to be upping the view count in order to be able to, like say things are more popular than they are some shows going to be saved? And have some shows inappropriately been killed because of this, right? I don't know. I find the whole thing to just be odd. It feels like they're trying to pad the deck, and that is never going to work out well for them in the long run. I know they're doing it for right now. We'll have to wait and see if anyone criticizes them for this. I have no idea if it's going to happen, but I'm curious to know your thoughts and your opinions on this. Do you feel that this is a good move? Do you think this is a bad move? Am I looking at this the wrong way? I'm legitimately asking your guys' thoughts on this. So let me know down in the comments below. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, smack that bell, and I'll talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.